Hi everybody, I'm Roseanne Ludick, the National Nursing Manager for Curo Health, and in this video I want to take you through the paperwork for your vitality or discovery vitality screenings that we will be doing quite a few of. These will mostly be done at vitality days at gyms, but you might get the single one or two where you will do them with a family or a single person at their place of work or their home. Whichever the circumstance is, the procedure is the same. So I want to take you through the paperwork. Firstly, please remember that the vitality refers to discovery clients only. In a previous video, I speak about the momentum multiply cases. Please don't confuse the two. They are two very different groups of clients and they don't like to be mixed up. So you will speak about a discovery vitality. Now on this form, you have information on the one side and your signatures and consents on the other side. This form too has changed a bit over the past, but in essence the information stays the same. So the one that we're using at the current moment says Curo Health and Healthy Patient, but whichever one is on the day or the discovery day where you are working, please use that one because that's the one that they will be using. Alright, so if we look at this form, again the very top section is your client personal information. And it says there, all fields are compulsory. Now, like I say in all my videos, and I think some of you are tired of hearing it already, there's a block or a stripe for a reason. It wants information, please. Because you or the client thinks it's irrelevant or not important, does not give you the right to ignore it, because that information is necessary when logging the points or working on the computer systems that these things need to be processed further on. So, your first section relates to your client's information. And that's the person sitting in front of you. And that will be information like, what is the client's title, Mr., Mrs., or Miss, date of birth, full name, that's first name, and then surname, ID number, cell phone number, and then just to throw you a curveball, email address of the main member, not of the client, of the main member. The next section will say main member information, and again it says all information is compulsory. Now, it sometimes happens that the client sitting in front of you is the main member of the Discovery Medical Aid scheme that they're using to get their points with. So if you have filled in this client's information in the top one where it says client personal information, please refill it in the second part. Do not put a stripe through it and say, as above, because there's different information that's needed there. And again, it's important information that the ladies need at the office to get the points logged. So again, it will say things like main member first name, main member surname, ID number of the main member and date of birth, medical aid name, medical aid number, and then the medical aid scheme. Now that's important because the points are logged differently depending on what scheme the client is on in Discovery. So it will be things like Delta or Comprehensive or something like that. Ask the client please to try and find out for you because it's not on their medical aid card. So sometimes they need to phone their husbands or wives and find out what scheme are we on, because we need to know that so that we can get the points logged correctly. Now again, I always say to you, please do not go on to the third section, which is your medical information and your screening information, before you have signed consent from your client. You cannot stick a needle in a client or do a procedure with a client before you have signed consent. I'd like to just give a tip to some of you. Maybe some of you have got your own points out here already, but when you are giving your paperwork to your client to sign, some of you make tiny little crosses and dots that very few of the clients see, and that's when you get mistakes going, that clients forget to sign or they sign on wrong places, and then you're in trouble and have to go back and the paperwork is not legitimate and all that sort of stuff. So please, when you make your crosses for your clients to sign or write their names on certain places, please make nice big crosses so that your client sees where is it that I must sign or write my name. Alright, the first big cross is the client's name, the second big cross is the client's name, and the third big cross is the client's signature. Now please put this paperwork in front of them so that they can read it before they sign it. I don't like it, and I'm sure you don't like it, if a paper is shoved in front of you and you said, just sign there quickly, please. I want to know what I'm signing for. Your client has the right and should read what they are signing before they sign it. So one of the little points here that I want you to understand too is in the little section directly under the first cross. It has a little paragraph that says, I voluntarily consent to health information including general health, and in brackets, height, weight, blood pressure, results from blood tests, medication, physical exam results, may be shared with other health professionals in Curo Health Consulting Pharmacy. Now I'm going to underline it because that's what I normally do when I'm at a client as well. I underline it for them. Because when they receive their statements from their medical aids, on that statement it will say Curo Health Consulting Pharmacy and a monetary value next to it. We have in the past had a gentleman phoning us very, very angry saying, who on earth is this pharmacy that took money off of his medical aid because he or none of his family went to such a pharmacy? So please just explain to your clients, ma'am or sir, please take note that we that are doing this wellness are registered as a business, as Curo Health Consulting Pharmacy. So when you next receive your statement from your medical scheme, there will be an action that will say Curo Health Consulting Pharmacy took an amount of money out of your medical aid. And then they understand what it's about. So please explain that to them so that they don't get upset about it when they see it on their statement in a week or 6's time. Then there are 3 selections that they can make, and you can make this with your client. The first one says HIV screening. The second one says glucose screening. And the third one says cholesterol screening. Now ignore the little U tests and cardio checks and everything next to it. We should actually take those off the form, because you will be, at this point in time, Curo Health is using the AccuChecks and AccuTrend machines, not the old kernel and matches and other tests devices that we used. The key word here to remember is screening. These are screening devices, and they are random screening devices. None of these clients are asked to fast before these tests are done. So just remind the client, ma'am or sir, remember please that they are screening devices. A laboratory test is much more accurate. So if anything in this screening device is a little bit out of the norms, I would encourage you to write down that screening result, go to your doctor and ask him or her to draw a vial of blood to send to laboratories for further diagnostic testing with laboratory testing, which is more accurate. These are random screening tests. All right, so once you and the client have then discussed what it is that you will be doing, then you can go to the other side and do your things. Now, I just want to remind you, please, that other than or differently to your Momentum Multiply clients, you may encourage your Discovery Vitality client to do an HIV test or not. Again, this would probably normally be screened with your client at the reception when they come into the gym or area where we are doing the Vitality Day. And the person at the reception will then get the necessary payments that will be extra for an HIV screening for this as well. So you'll get an indication already from the front desk of the gym whether the client has paid for an HIV test as well or not. All right. So then you will go around to the front end of your form again, where you will then record your clinical data that you will then start doing. I'm not going to go through how you do these tests now. I'm trying to make separate little videos on how do you do a cholesterol, how do you do a glucose and so on. So please refer to those videos for more. But questions like, are you a smoker, yes or no, or used to be? If your client says, I used to smoke, ask them more or less, when did you stop smoking? If they say 20 years ago, right, 20 years ago. Many smokers can tell you, on the 12th of April 1997, I stopped smoking. So then you can write that date in there. It's really not a set in stone or cast in stone date, but just to get an idea of when. Then the next one is, if you, okay, that's when you used to smoke. Height, and you'll see it says in centimeters. Weight, you'll see it says in kilograms. Waist circumference, again in centimeters please. And then blood pressure, glucose, cholesterol. Now, I suggest you do your glucose first while your client is sitting down quietly and before you take out needles and stick fingers and so on, because that will chase their blood pressure up as well. So while you are asking questions and filling in form, let your client sit nice and quietly and get their blood pressure relaxed a little bit. And then do your blood pressure before you chase them up and down to do height and weight and so on, if that hasn't already been done like we do on some of the bigger days. When you then go on to the left-hand side of your page or your right-hand side when it's facing you, it will ask you questions there like, have you ever been diagnosed with a heart disease? Now please, I don't want to know that you've had a heart bypass and all that sort of stuff. All we want to know is yes or no. The second one is, how many hours ago did you eat? Now that's important because it gives you an indication if your glucose screening value comes up a bit high and your client says, oh, I had supper last night and it's now 11 o'clock in the morning, it's almost 12 hours last that the client ate, then you have an idea that the random glucose might be a bit high, and then suggest to your client, please take this random screening and go to a doctor and ask them to do a fasting glucose for you at the laboratories. Because given that you ate 12 hours ago and your glucose is now a random screening at 8.2 or something higher, that is an indication that there might be problems. Please don't sit diagnosing or giving information or clinical information. You have no idea what the client's background is, you have no idea what the client's current medical conditions are, and you don't have time to get into a consulting mode. Please ask the client to take the screening levels or the screening values that you've done, go to their doctors and let them do further testing and diagnosing from that. Right. Then it's important to know too that we want to know hours ago, not the time. So don't write 1900 hours. Write 3 hours ago or 30 minutes ago. If the client says to you, I've just walked out of Wimpy, I had a nice waffle and eggs, then he might have reason for a glucose of 8.2. But that was 30 minutes ago. So there's a possible indication. So please be careful with glucose. It is a random. There are many variables involved. If anything is out of your comfort zone or you're not sure of anything, please refer the client to their doctors. Let them take it further for further testing. Your next question will be, how many portions of vegetables do you eat per day? How many portions of fruit do you eat per day? And a portion is normally a handful. So 1 apple is a portion, 1 banana is a portion. If the client says, I eat salads, I live on salads, then those are good portions. If he eats a bowl of salad, that's approximately 3 portions, depending on how big the bowl is. So use those. Don't say, oh no, that's not vegetables, that's lettuce. It's not applicable. All right. Your next question is, what is your current level of physical activity days per week? Now, Vitality has seen that their previous method of only using clocking in and out at gyms as valid Vitality point earning methods is a little bit biased, because your guys that do cycling, your guys that go walking, the people that are doing farming and hard physical exercise all day long, mommies running after children and cleaning their houses, in the old mind frame that was not considered as exercise. But they have now acknowledged that if you are wearing a Fitbit, these stepping devices that that persons can wear to keep track of and register how physically active you've been, that can add or can be used to verify Vitality points. So if the client says to you, I don't go to gym but I cycle, how many days of the week do you cycle? All right? So other than your previous video, in my old video where I said intentionally putting on tackies and going to exercise, it's now changed. So if the client has a Fitbit or those step recording bands that you can use, please, it is allowed. They must just write it as such. Your next question is, if you are physically active, how many minutes of the day are you physically active? Now, someone that says, listen, I'm a constructive worker, or I'm a farmer, or I'm a miner, I'm busy all day, Discovery obviously is not going to accept if you write there 12 hours, because nobody exercises for 12 hours. So then break it down to approximately an hour. All right, don't go over an hour, because then they start raising their eyebrows. And then the next very important difference between the discovery vitality and the momentum multiplier is that on a discovery vitality, you will not record the result of your HIV. You will merely record that you have done it, yes or no. Please, I don't want smiley faces, I don't want crosses, I don't want all sorts of other funny little signs and symbols that have been used during the past to indicate HIV negative or positive. In the discovery vitality, we merely want to know, did you do the HIV test or not? No results, please. And that little yes or no should obviously be the same as your ticks and selections on the back where the client said, I want to do HIV or not. So if you ticked it and selected it there, obviously you can't then on the front say, no, I didn't do it. So make sure that your two are the same. Again, please, if your client is not informed about HIV or has requested more information, do not go into a pre-counseling session. You do not have the time. Vitalities and multipliers are booked for a maximum of 15 minutes per client. Please, if they need more information, give them the toll-free numbers, refer them to their medical advisors and ask them please to go and get the information. Do the other screening so long, but not the HIV. All right. Okay. Then you will, in the bottom section, record your name and your details, and then two little blocks over there that say client number and in brackets example 1 of 6. That is to keep track of the paperwork so that it doesn't get lost or put in bags and forgotten about. The ladies back at the office doing the capture work don't know how many clients you saw on a day. So if in those little blocks, as your clients move in and out to you, when your first client comes to you, write in the first little block there 1. In your second client that comes in, write in the little block 2, and so on, all the way through the clients that you see. At the end of the day, or at the end of the session, when you are told, okay, we're finished, we've seen all the clients, you can pack up and go, then in your last block, that one, count all your paperwork, and depending on how many you did, if you did 18, then write in that second block 18, 18, 18, so that your paperwork will then run 1 of 18, 2 of 18, 3 of 18. And the ladies at the office can then very easily pick up whether a form or 2 are missing or not. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that makes the paperwork a bit easier. Please, again, it's rather straightforward. There's nothing strange or different about this. It's just the little tricks to know why things are important. Please sign it, make sure you've done all the paperwork correctly, filled in everything that's necessary. One last thing, please, the very bottom part on this form says for office use only. Now, for office use is this office at the Curo Health office, not you sitting in the Multiply office or the Discovery Vitality office. Please leave that section open. It's not for you to fill in. Right. The password for this video is healthy patient. Thank you very much for your time. I hope it's made a bit more sense and made some of the things a bit clearer for you. Enjoy them, have fun. They're nice days to interact with clients and your fellow colleagues, and enjoy. Thank you. Goodbye.